See, people started joining. They are taking time, but yeah. Uh, So today basically we try to learn, configure high availability, deploy and configure skill sets. Okay, so let's learn about it. We'll go. Okay, planned for maintenance and downtime. So I hope all of you recall our first or second class of like availability zone, region pair, and all those things, right? So we will be going in all these details today. Okay, so yeah, we all know like unplanned hardware maintenance. We call when we call unplanned hardware maintenance. Basically, it is like uh, something has failed, right? Hard disk has failed, or any. If you take your laptop, uh, if your laptop goes down, that is an unplanned maintenance, right? Like let's say RAM is not working, or motherboard failed, or disk got crashed, right? Due to high I/O and all those things. So that is your unplanned maintenance, right? So when the platform predicts a failure, it will issue an unplanned hardware maintenance event, right? So that is there how they will get it. So hardware is not on us, so that's fine. We can see Azure uses live migration technology to migrate the virtual machine from failing hardware to healthy physical machine, right? So they have this technology already there. So those who are using Hyper-V or VMware, they know how to migrate virtual machine from one hardware to another hardware, right? So that's what they're using in the backend. If they sense that there is some failure or unplanned hardware maintenance, they will move your virtual machine quietly to some other host, right? We know what is a host, right? Anyway, we are not taking care of all these. These all are been taken care by Microsoft, but it's good that we are knowing okay how they are like what they are doing if there is hardware failure happening. So this is their measure to keep our virtual machine online, right? Now, what all measure we can take to keep our virtual machine online, right? So, mhm. Unexpected downtime. So it's already failed. That is your unexpected downtime. Planned unplanned maintenance is they are sensing okay there is something going down. Okay, so that is the difference between it. Okay. Okay. So unexpected downtime can include local network failure, local disk failure, or rack level failure. Right. So we have again seen the rack, then data center, then zone, then availability like zone, then region pair. Right. Region and then region pair. These also do the same thing. If there is unexpected downtime, it will just move healthy virtual machine to another hardware with the same data center, right? Yeah. So if something happen, you can say there will be some downtime that is a reboot. In some cases, they can basically what can happen? You will lose your temporary drive data. That's why we are saying don't store anything on your temporary data. Okay. Plant maintenance. What is plant maintenance? So Microsoft, those who have worked with Microsoft Server, right? You have seen that there has to be periodic updates, right? the Microsoft for underlying platform to improve overall reliability, performance, security. We can call it as patches, right? The platform or virtual machine. Most of these updates are performed without any impact upon your virtual machine or cloud services. That's what they are saying. So there are three type of disturbance. One is unplanned hardware maintenance, unexpected downtime, then planned maintenance. Okay. So how we can reduce our virtual machine downtime during these events. Okay, that's what we are going to learn with availability set and then virtual machine skill set. Okay. You can see Microsoft does not automatically update your virtual machine operating system or software. You have complete control. If you are creating a virtual machine, you have complete control for that. Okay. However, the underlying software and hardware are periodically patched to ensure reliability and performance. Okay. And from 22, like Windows 2022, like 2022, you have something called hot patches. You can enable that, right? So you have to look into that, what all options they are giving for hot patches, right? And what plans do you have to minimize the effect of a downtime? We are going to learn that only. Let's go. Setup availability set. What is a availability set? This should have some task to complete, right? No, not having. Let me check if I'm getting some. Wait, one minute, let me search. Sure, green access sandbox. Yeah, I thought I have a. Let me go back and see. Mhm. No problem. A setup availability set. Let's go through it and discuss. Okay. So, what is availability set? Anyone has any idea about the availability set?
Hello. Hello,
Yes.
Vikas.
Yep.
Ability set is the grouping of the virtual machine which help us to reduce the redundancy.
That's correct.
No, no, no. It's
Right.
increase the
So, yep.
redundancy.
Definition. Yes, yes. Increase the redundancy or decrease what you call downtime. Same thing.
Okay.
right? So yeah, when so we can create a availability set, right? It's a feature of Azure. So if I'm going to portal, okay, you can see availability sets are there, right? So I can create a availability set. Okay. So what is availability set basically? You can see availability set is basically a logical feature used to ensure that a group of related VM are deployed so that they are not subjected to a single point of failure, right? So they are basically, we have discussed about rack, we have discussed about data center, we have discussed about multiple unplanned and planned activity, right? So it will group our virtual machine in such a way that it will basically try to avoid single point of failure, right? So you can see basically it run across multiple physical server. Like let's say you are having three virtual machine or more than three virtual machine, even more than two virtual machine also, it will get deployed to two different physical server, right? Or you can say it will get deployed to different rack. It will have separate storage units, right? It will have separate network switches. So if there is single point of failure, these all are single point of failure, right? Physical server, let's say there is single server and it is hosting your two virtual machine. If that server goes down, your virtual machine will go down, right? So if there is multiple physical server, then if one goes down, other will be running. There are very less chances that two physical server goes down at once, right? Compute racks will be different, right? Storage units will be different, right? The network switches also will be different. Right? There may be chances that one network switch goes down. Even for single rack also, they will be having multiple connections. They will be having two or more than two or network switches, right? But still, let's say a complete rack goes down, how to avoid that, right? So that's why we are having availability set. Okay. So for redundancy, configure multiple virtual machine in availability set, configure each application tier into separate availability set, right? Then combine a load balancer with availability set, right? Then you can use manage disk with virtual machine. So these are the benefits. We'll go through this. Let's go through. So you can see for virtual machine, if you deployed them in availability zone, okay, in the same Azure region, then they will guarantee that 99.99% of the availability. If it is less, Azure will pay you back. Okay. So if you have deployed in availability set, they will give you 99.95. So you can see the difference of 0.04, right? Just don't see this is very less. This is if you change them in days or in hour, you will see the difference. Okay. 99.99% available in 1 year. What that does that mean?
We got 99 days out of 1000 days.
That's correct. We got 999 days uptime in 1000 days. Okay. So like if it is up for let's say 3 years, then 1 day will be the downtime, right? But in case of availability set, five downtime will be 5 days. That is the expectation. It's not like it can be less or it can be more also. So when you are saying availability set, in that time it is like 5 days. That means per year around 1.5 day there will be a downtime. That too from Microsoft side. It's not yours, right? So if you are using a single virtual machine with premium storage, right? For all operating system disk and data disk, then they guarantee 99.9. That is like around 999 days. So 10 days will be the downtime. Okay, for this. You can create a virtual machine and an availability set at the same time, or a virtual machine can be added to availability set when it is getting created. Okay, You can move it, but that is a little bit tedious process. To move it, you have to recreate the virtual machine again, right? To change the availability set, you need to delete and then recreate the virtual machine. Okay, you can see. So you have to take care of this. If there is any requirement that you have to create a virtual machine in an availability set, you have to take care of that. Okay. So there are two things: fault domain and update domain. In case of availability set, what is fault domain and what is update domain? If you remember, we have gone through this picture first, the introduction, after the introduction. Right? So this is like unplanned maintenance hardware, this is unexpected, and this is planned maintenance, right? So we have seen three type of maintenance, right? And there is something called in planned maintenance, security patching is there, or some other software related patching is there, right? So there are two type of uh, things is happening. One is hardware related issues, right? And one is software related issues, which Microsoft or we are trying to tackle using availability set, right? So when we are talking about hardware related issues, we'll call it as fault domain. Okay. And when we are talking about any kind of software related changes, we will call it as update domain. Okay. So all the fault domain, like all the hardware related failures, to avoid that, we will group machine or virtual machine in fault domain. Okay. So it's like, let me take a, or can we use this? So you can see update domain, what they have given the definition is a group of nodes. When they say node, it's group of virtual machine. Okay. That is like they're upgrading them at the same time. There is some better picture for fault domain and update domain. Fault domain and update domain. Okay. So if you can see this, now this, let's go to Microsoft. Sorry. Okay. So here in this picture, you can see what they are doing. They are having a pool of managed disk that they are giving fault domain 0. Okay. They are having a pool of again disk that is fault domain 1. They are making again one more that is fault domain 2. So Microsoft already has around 5. Earlier it was around 20 fault domain and 5 update domain. Now we have to look how much it is. Okay. So you can choose in that like how much fault domain you wanted to select and how much update domain you wanted to select. Okay. So based on that, they will be deploying your virtual machine to different fault domain and update domain. So fault domain and update domain will be classed. Like let's say a virtual machine will have two grouping. Okay, it will have one fault domain and it will have one update domain. Okay, assigned to it. So let's say in this virtual machine, this is virtual machine one, right? So virtual machine one has been assigned to update domain one, and it has to be assigned also fault domain. Okay, so VM1 will be having two tag. One will be update domain one and one will be fault domain one. It should not be same. It can be different also. So we'll discuss that also. Hmm, not getting the exact picture which I have gone through long back. Hmm. In this case, availability set, how it works. Mm, okay. Let's discuss in our way only. I'm getting what I'm looking for you. Uh, Let me get a whiteboard. Hope all of you are able to see my screen.
Yes, Vikas.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's understand in this way. Let's say there are five different rack in a data center. Is two, not five. Let's say three only as of now. So let's say there are three different racks. Okay, inside that there are pool of hardwares, right? Let's say this is my disk. This is my uh, CPU. Okay. This is my any other hardware, right? And then we have network connection to it. Mhm. We have network connection. Okay, we have power, right? And we have cooling, right? So let's say this is network, this is power, this is cooling, right? So what Microsoft will do, these all three connections, they will have separate connections. Okay, so let's say this is connection, this is let's say connection one. Okay, let's say this is connection two, and then there will be one more connection. Let's say for this is connection three. Okay, and I think C3, this is connection three. Okay, so while you deploying your virtual machine, you don't have any options to select where you wanted to deploy, right? But you have options of availability set. Okay, let's first understand a fault domain. Okay, then we will understand update domain. Okay, so you have an option called availability set. What you can do, let's say you wanted to deploy five virtual machine. Okay, so let's say I wanted to deploy five virtual machine. Okay, let's say one, two, duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. Okay, I wanted to deploy these five virtual machines. Okay, so what are the chances that they all can get deployed to same rack? Let's say rack one only. Control Z. Let me do that, I guess. So there are some chances, right, that this all five virtual machine can get deployed to single, or at least out of five, three of them are getting deployed to one rack, one fault domain, right? You can call this fault domain one. Okay, let's call fault domain one, fault domain two, and fault domain three. Okay, so like let's say we have not selected availability set, so there will be chances that my three virtual machine is going to fault domain one and two virtual machine is going to fault domain two, right? Or maybe all five can go to fault domain on only if there is, let's say, all the requirement is as per Azure. Like there are some what do you call checks and balances they will do, right? Okay, if this hardware is good, deployed there, they will be doing, right? So to increase the availability, what we wanted to do, we wanted to like deploy them in different virtual machines or different fault domain and update domain. Let's say what will be the best scenario if you wanted to deploy 5 virtual machine in 3 fault domain. Maybe we can deploy two here, and one here. That will be the best scenario, right? Or let's say two, and one. Correct? So we can achieve this using availability set. So if you are using a availability set, right? Availability set, what we can do? We can say, okay, these 5 virtual machine are a group. Okay, these 5 virtual machines, they are a group, and I wanted to deploy them in 3 different fault domain. Okay, so what will happen? Let's say VM1. Okay, how they will divide? VM1 will go to fault domain 1. Okay, if I'm saying, okay, I want to deploy this group in availability set, and I have availability set of this like 3 fault domain. Okay, in that case, what will happen? This is the fault domain, like virtual machine 1, it will go to this fault domain 1. This is second, this will go to fault domain 2. Okay, then this is 3, this third one will go to this one, fault domain 3. Okay, let me delete some of them. No, I don't want this one. I want something else. It's not good. Do you have any other eraser here? Mhm. So then VM2 will go to fault domain 2. VM3 can go to fault domain 3. So, and then again, there will be VM4, right? VM4, it can go to any fault domain 1 or fault domain 2 or fault domain 3. Same for VM4. Now VM5, right? Again, this can also go to any VM1 or fault domain 1 or fault domain 2 and fault domain 3. So it will be a configuration like, okay, my two virtual machine is in one fault domain, another two virtual machine in another fault domain, and one virtual machine in another fault domain. So here what we have achieved, we have just reduced single point of failure. Like let's say connection 1, there is some problem. If connection 1 goes down, two virtual machine will be down, but other three virtual machine will be running for me, right? So it can be like this 5 virtual machine can contain single application also, or they can contain different application also. Okay, so this is basically the concept of fault domain, where we are trying to deploy our virtual machine in different hardware. We don't want to it to get deployed to single hardware. Okay, so with the help of availability set, just we wanted to deploy our virtual machine in 2 or 3 or even 5 fault domain. Okay, we'll try to create it and we'll see how we are selecting fault domain and update domain. Okay, so hopefully fault domain, what we are trying to do is clear. I hope
Hello,
yes.
Vikas.
Yeah,
How we specify the where the virtual machine is going to deploy?
we cannot specify where this virtual machine is going to deploy. We can tell Microsoft that we wanted to deploy them in fault domain. So Microsoft will automatically deploy to different rack. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. There are some options called host. If you all remember host grouping, in that case, if you wanted to have your own data center or own rack in Azure, you can do that, but you have to book complete rack, right? That is host grouping, if you all remember while discussing a virtual machine, right? So that is different thing. Here we are trying to discuss fault domain, right? So Microsoft will just deploy them in 3 different fault domain. They will have separate cooling, separate fan, separate networking, whatever hardware connection they will have separate. It's not like they will have single connection, they will have multiple connection also, but we call it as single point of failure. Okay,
If we group the all buzzer machine using the availability sets, can it help us to deploy one of the separate rake of the server?
Not getting your question.
I'm saying that if I grouping all the virtual machine using the
Hmm.
ability set, after that we want to deploy that virtual machine over different what is called it's a rake, three
So
different rake.
that's what Microsoft will take care, right? We have to tell them, okay, if I'm deploying three virtual machines, please deploy in three fault domain. That's what availability set we are trying to do here, right?
Okay.
So automatically Microsoft will take care of deploying them to different availability set, and we have seen it, right. Your overall downtime will be decreased. We have seen if you are deploying them in availability zone, then it is 99.99. If you are deploying them in availability set, it is 99.95. If you are just deploying in single rack, that is 99.9. That is 39, right?
Yes.
So that's how they will be increasing. So that is your availability or fault, basically fault domain. So you can see how they are configuring this fault domain, right? So see, this is completely a fault domain. This is completely a fault domain. This is completely a fault domain, right? So all three virtual machine is having three fault domain 0, fault domain 1, fault domain 2. And like clubbing all them together makes one availability set, correct? So this availability set is like this. You can see there are three different storage disks are there. There will be three different network connection. There will be three different power. Okay, so that makes a fault domain within single region, or you can say within single availability zone. Okay, when we are talking about availability set will be inside your availability zone, so it will be single zone. Inside that we will be having fault domain. So if you go to hierarchy again, what we have at the top? At the top we have region pair, correct? At the top we have region pair. Then inside region pair, like let's say there is two region, right? The bigger is region pair, then one region pair we have two regions, right? Sorry. Let's say this is region 1, this is region 2, right? Then inside region we have availability zone, right? Let's say this is zone 1, this is zone 2, and this is zone 3, right? Same way we have three zone in another region, right? This is zone 1, zone 2, and then this is zone 3. Okay, so now inside this zone also, I'll keep this little bit bigger if I am able to, so that we can discuss availability set, right? So if I'm going inside this region, what we have availability set. Okay, and what availability set will do? Availability set will have fault domain, right? So let's go to this. Let's say this is fault domain 1, this is fault. Delete. Right, I can copy this, right? Duplicate. Right. What is the outer line we are having? The topmost outer line, that is your region pair. Is it clear? Then you have below that we have region, right? So this is, let's say, region 1, and this is region 2, right? So making two region or clubbing two region make it as a region pair, right? Inside region 1, what we have? We have zone 1, right? Zone 1, then you have zone 2, correct? Then you have zone 3. I hope everyone understand this, right? Inside one region, there can be multiple zones, right? And yes, we forgot one thing. What we forgot? Okay, let's make this bigger. Let's say I'm just explaining one picture here. Okay, don't get confused. This will be inside all the pictures. So inside zone also there will be what? There will be multiple data centers, right? If we remember, zone 1 can comprise of 3 data center. Let's say data center 1, data center 2, or data center 3, or even more data centers, right? So inside one data center, we are having this fault domain. Okay. So let's say this is data center. I will make it as DC. DC1, duplicate. Let's say this is DC2. You can go on mute if you're not talking. This is DC3, and there will be more, right? Like that. So inside John we have data center. Inside one data center, what we have? We have availability set. So let's take arrow. Let's take arrow from data center to this, right? Let me fill this with color. Are you able to fill it? So from data center, we are going to this fault domain, right? So inside one data center, we can have what? We can have fault domain 1, that is FD1. Sorry, something's happened. FD1. Let's duplicate this, go to this FD2. Hope this all are visible, right?
Yes, Vikas.
Fault domain 3 and fault domain 4 and 5. So now picture is clear, right? How availability is being taken care by Microsoft, or how we can like ask them to deploy to different. So we have options like where we can select a region where we wanted to deploy, right? Then we have options. We can select, do you want to go through availability zone? Do you want to deploy them in availability zone? That also we know, right? So if you are deploying in availability zone, it will be deployed in zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. Then inside zone also we have different data centers which Microsoft is managing. You don't have access to deploy in different data center, right? But you have options to deploy in different fault domain, that is availability set, correct? So you can tell Microsoft, okay, hey, I wanted to deploy my 5 virtual machine in an availability set. So inside one data center, it will be deployed in different fault domain to increase the availability of your virtual machine, overall virtual machine. Okay. Hope this is clear. The fault domain now.
Yes, Vikas. Vikas, I have question. Can we group the three region together?
No, region pair is there. So if you are using region pair, then different options are there. Like site recovery things you can enable in region pair. Okay, that is a higher level of. So why you want to like group region? If there is some disaster happened, right? Let's say complete region is down, then only you wanted to move to different region, right? Or even you can deploy one virtual machine in region 1 and you can deploy another virtual machine in region 2. Then use a load balancer at the top, and then like that you can do. Okay, so yes, you can deploy two different virtual machine, but it's not like you can select. You have to deploy consciously when you are deploying. Select region like East US, then select region East US 2 for the another virtual machine. Install same install from same image, install same application. Then database also has to be deployed, and that database has to be in sync. So that configuration you have to do. Okay, Microsoft doesn't have any such options like where you can deploy virtual machine into different region kind of directly. Okay, so yep, this is your fault domain is done. Then there is one more which we have discussed, right? That is your update domain, right? So any software related changes will be done with the help of update domain, right? Let's say any patching is done. And even if it is Windows machine, we can see there are some security updates will come in our machines, right? And it will ask us to update it, right? Update it. Sometime it will say, okay, restart is required. Sometime it will say restart is not required. Okay. So same way, what they will do, they will have a logical grouping. Okay. We have seen physical grouping. Now they will have a logical grouping, right? So when I say logical grouping, so let's say there is logical grouping. Right now, just forget about fault domain. Okay, whatever we have discussed, just leave it there only. Okay. So let's say this is update domain one. Okay. If I'm taking uh, UD one, okay. Let's duplicate this update domain two, update domain three, and then update domain four. So this update domain is meant for let's say Microsoft, not for us. Okay, so let's say Microsoft wanted to patch some. Right now, nowadays we are uh, hearing some news every day that Russia is trying to do cyber attack or do something XYZ, and we have also seen the news that Russia was able to uh, breach Microsoft and Okta network. Right, we have seen that news. So let's say Microsoft had let's say this news is true and Microsoft has identified what is the solution for it, right? So what they have to do for that, they have to release a patch for every machines, right? Correct. It's not working. Let's see. This whole are there within a data center, right? So it's like logical grouping, right? Or you can say logical isolation. So update domain one and there is some logical boundary also. So same scenario, let's say Microsoft data center got breached and they got the solution also Microsoft to revert back the people or hacker who have already compromised their data centers, right? For that they have some what you call security patches has to be installed. So how they can do, they can release these patches to all virtual machine at once, right? In that case what will happen, let's say this patch required a reboot. If they are doing like that, what will happen? And we have four virtual machine. Let's say we have VM1. Same scenario. VM. Let's take like VM1 only. VM4. Okay. So let's say there are four virtual machine, and let's forget about this picture. Let's say we don't have any logical update domain things now. Okay. Let's see. We don't have this. Okay. We have just four virtual machine deployed on Azure, and Microsoft wanted to do the security patching, which is very important, and they wanted to do it right away. In that case, what will happen? And this patch also required a reboot. All the four virtual machines which my company has deployed. they will get patch at the same time, they will get reboot at the same time, right? And what about my application? My application will be down, correct? Do you all agree with that?
Yes, Vikas.
Correct. So to avoid such things, what Microsoft have done, what they have did, they have given you an option with availability set that you can group your virtual machine in different update domain. Okay, and what they will do, they will push the patches to update domain 1 first. Once every virtual machine got patched, it got let's say rebooted, everything is running fine, then they will go to update domain 2. Okay, same thing for the update domain 2, every package will be released, it got installed on virtual machine, then virtual machine gets started, application is up and running fine, then they will go to update domain 3. So at any given point of time, there will be only one virtual machine which will be getting patched, right? If it is in update domain, correct? So there can be multiple virtual machines in single update domain, right? There can be like more than 10 or 100 or 200. It can be from different company, right? But for your company, there are four virtual machine and four of them are in four different update domains. So you are okay. You can sleep peacefully that okay, if they are even releasing some patch, one virtual machine can go down, but other three virtual machine will be up and running to handle my request, right? Or to handle my user. So this is again your logical grouping of virtual machine for the update. That's we call it update domain, right? So a single virtual machine will have two things. What it will have? It will have a fault domain and it will have a update domain. Now you both are able to collect it, right? So let's say in virtual machine, a virtual machine will be deployed to one hardware and it will be grouped to a update domain. Okay.
Vikas,
Hmm.
can we do update simultaneously?
Yes, we can do update simultaneously.
But we have to switch off the server.
Update will is an online activities like no switch of the server. There are some updates which require a reboot.
Okay.
Okay.
No, I am saying that if we want to update simultaneously,
Hmm.
then we have to do when we want to do simultaneously, so we have to switch off the server to do so.
There is nothing called switch of the server. Like it's like see company first of all they don't want to do everything at the same time, right? They want like it's like 24/7. Amazon everyone is ordering anytime, even night 12:30 it is available. If you wanted to patch all the server of Amazon and restart them, what will happen? You will not have Amazon available, right? Why you wanted to patch them in one go? Yeah, there are options. There are so many tools, SSCM, SCCM, and other patching options are there, right? You can patch multiple server in one go, but within a group of server, you don't want to patch every like let's say application posted is like within three server. You just wanted to patch one server at a time. You will not go with all server in one go. Okay, that's what we wanted to understand here. Okay. So again, I can say fault domain 1, fault domain 2. They are having IS server 1, web server 2, SQL server 1, SQL server 2. They both are in two fault domain. So your application is installed in two server. If one fault domain goes down, your application is available in second. Okay. So update domain is a group of nodes that upgraded together during the process of service upgrade rollout, right? An update domain allows you to perform incremental or rolling upgrade across the deployment. So each update domain contains a set of virtual machine and associated physical hardware that can be updated and rebooted at the same time. That's what we have seen in picture, right? This update domain will be rebooted with the same time. Can be. It's not like 100% they will get rebooted. Okay. Okay. So you can see only one update domain is rebooted at a time. if there is any planned maintenance. By default, there are 5 update domains, but you can configure up to 20. Okay. Then you are having fault domain that represent physical unit failure, right? And this is your service upgrade. Okay. Group of virtual machine that share a common set of hardware, switches, single point of failure, right? A server rack or set of power networking. Two fault domain mitigate against hardware failure, network outage, or power. Think of fault domain as a node belonging to same physical rack. Okay. So placing your virtual machine is not like they are not protecting operating system or application, but it's like protecting your hardware and update related failure. Okay. Then you have availability zone. We have already discussed, right? So in this picture, if I just zoom it little bit, okay, you can see inside one fault domain, there can be two update domain, right? Or inside like one update domain can be in multiple fault domain. Like let's say update domain 0 can be here also, can be here also. Okay. And then fault domain is like separate hardwares and all like that. Okay. So inside one availability zone, we have already discussed this picture there. We will be having fault domain and update domain. Okay, so if you wanted to increase a little bit more in that picture, previous one, what will happen? Let's say I wanted to add some text here. Okay, so you can take a hypothetical number that uh, update domain 0 will be there. What is C? To be update domain, right? Duplicate. Then you will be having update domain 1. It will be also having update domain 2, and so on. It will be having update domain 3, 4, 5 till 20. You can go in update domain, right? So that's what it is. This picture says, okay. Inside one availability zone, you are having fault domain and update domain. Hope this is clear now. So we have already discussed each zone is made up of more data center, correct? To ensure resiliency, there are a minimum of 3 separate zone in all enabled region, right? Data center failure, it will protect you from that. Zone redundant services replicate your application and data across availability zone. Where we have seen zone redundant, do you all remember storage account? It has zone redundant, right? LRS or ZRS or GRS. Okay, please go through this again. So there is two things: vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. What is vertical scaling? Okay, so vertical scaling is normal, is like increasing and decreasing of your virtual machine size. Okay, and then horizontal scaling is like adding extra machine. Okay, scale out. Okay, scale out is like horizontal, and scale up, don't get confused. Okay, scale up is like your, and scale down and scale up is your like vertical scaling where you are increasing your size. Horizontal scaling is your like scale out or scale in. Okay, that is adding extra virtual machine where number of virtual machine is altered. Okay, so we have seen vertical scaling, we can achieve it through scaling or resizing of virtual machine. How we can like achieve horizontal scaling? So horizontal scaling can be achieved through virtual machine scale set. Okay, we'll learn that. Okay, Let's go to that. Implement a scale set. So you can see when you are saying virtual machine scale set, we are having multiple operating system or virtual machine, same operating system image or configuration. Okay, so we can have different custom image also for ourselves, right? Or let's say it's Windows 2019 only, but we have customized it based on our requirement. We have installed npm, we have installed something else. You remember like installing uh, sorry. Let me get some water. Sorry team. So yeah. Mm. We'll go through skill set tomorrow. We have gone through VM like availability set today. So yeah, I have assigned one day for availability set, which is done. We'll go through virtual machine skill set tomorrow. Okay. Any question on availability set till now?
No, Vikas, I don't have.
Okay. I hope everyone got it. What I'm trying to explain here. Okay. Tony, is it clear the concept of availability set?
Yes, Vikas.
Mm. Please go through this documentation. It will have more technical words, but yes, in layman term, this is what availability set is. Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay then, Vivek, you have any question related to availability set?